I am so excited to be discussing today my review for The Jasmine Throne by Tasha Suri. Literally one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I can't wait. Let's get into it. Spoiler-free review. I'm excited. So, The Jasmine Throne is set to come out June 8th. It is the sapphic fantasy book of my dreams. It is inspired by Indian epics and the first book in an epic high fantasy trilogy. It follows two main perspective characters with some additional people thrown in. Malini is an exiled princess because she attempted to overthrow her corrupted brother, who is also the emperor, and Priya, handmaiden with a deadly and dangerous magical secret. The two of them are sort of thrown together and soon realize that they want things to change, but have sort of different ideals and a lot of things pulling them apart, as much as there is some attraction and sort of things growing between them, and they kind of have to decide how far are they willing to go to overthrow a corrupted empire, escape confinement, and do the damn thing. Not the best synopsis ever, but I kind of suck at giving synopses. And we're just going to talk about this book. Content warnings for it include illness, death, torture, captivity, abuse, homophobia, self-harm, body horror, drug use, and sexism. If all goes well, you should be seeing this on Wednesday, June 2nd. I was trying to get this book review up earlier, but things were not going to plan. And if you're interested, this is not a physical arc. Words aren't working today. I was approved. Jesus Christ. I was approved for the e-arc on NetGalley, and Orbit finally got back to me after having requested it months ago. And I'm very excited to discuss it. Indigo, my bookstore, has just been drunk as of late and shipping books literally 2 weeks before they are set to release. And I hope this doesn't affect author sales because I've pre-ordered it and I know first week sales are really important. I fell in love with this world. I think Tasha Suri has proven she's an epic world builder. A phenomenal job done here, and I'm very impressed. She shows and displays a great understanding of her world at the micro and macro levels. We learn about this ruling empire that is an imperialist force, and that has actually conquered the main people and setting that we are in. We see all the different politics and politicians sort of involved in here. There's class involved, a caste system. The magic is super interesting and unique. There is a very interesting mythology and mythological creatures surrounding this mythology that I've never seen before. There is so much packed into this world that I fell in love with. I also love how we slowly discover things throughout the story. It's not incredibly dense or smack you in the face with information at the very beginning. Slowly and gradually kind of fit in the pieces as we go throughout the story, and that's my favorite way that the world building is done. Obviously there's more to be developed, a lot to be developed like in the surrounding areas and more things to be filled in, but you have a great understanding of this world. I think it's unique and inventive. I love the magic and all the politics at play. I absolutely loved the world building and thought it was a joy to read. The characters also were great. Do we see where I'm going with this? I really loved this book. I thought it was fantastic. I either loved them or loved to hate them. I think Tasha Suri does such a fantastic job getting you in the heads of all of her characters, because while this does follow the main two characters, Malini and Priya, we do have other perspectives peppered throughout the story. Some of them are main players in the story and some of them are bad people. Even though you dislike them and disagree with them, the way Tasha Suri puts you into the heads of these characters and understand their motivations, I totally could understand and see how people could get behind these characters, and I think that's just a great example of excellent characterization. I loved them, I hated them, I had a great time with all of our characters. Our main two characters as well, I absolutely loved. Immediately from the first moment we started reading from Priya, was intrigued by her because she is unlike a lot of protagonist. She doesn't really have the political acumen we discover as we go throughout the story, and she's kind of out of her depths, but she's a good person and wants to do well by her people and sort of make up for a lot of the things that her peoples have experienced through the colonial power and like magic related things. Priya was an excellent character. Malini took me a little bit longer to warm up to, but that is because of a plot reason. Once we learn more about her and why she is in her specific situation and how much she has done in the past and is willing to do in the future to accomplish her goals, I was down with Malini. I also really loved the dynamics between all of the characters, the budding attraction between the two of them, and how they know it's inconvenient, but they see it's there, and they know things are going to get crazy complicated with everything else and between each other, but like that sort of begrudging attraction between two morally gray lesbians is such a highlight in this story. Just in general, character relationships in here were fantastic with our main characters, with all the other side characters. There is not one relationship or dynamic in here that is simple or easy. It is very complicated, layered, and nuanced, with a lot of emotional stakes with a lot of these relationships. And boy, did I love seeing how all these characters were trying to navigate accomplishing their own goals and frequently butting heads with people they possibly have histories with or love. There is so much packed in here and so much that I loved, and it's just so complicated, and I know the rest of the series is going to get even more and further complicated. The more I'm talking about it and more I'm doing this review, the more I fall in love with this book. Plot was really interesting because it goes in ways that I didn't expect. It's shrouded in a lot of mystery. You're not really told exactly what's happening at the very beginning, and you're sort of discovering what's going on along with some of the characters. And once things come together and like again the pieces start coming together, that's when I think it's pretty great. The further along in the story we get, the more and more we figure out how complicated things are going to be and how complicated the story itself becomes. I love the political stuff that we get in here, and it's only just a taste of what is to come. I really enjoyed learning a lot about the magic and like one of the main centerpiece places that we are in and how that's involved with the magic. I love that it itself has a part to play in the story, and I know that sounds weird, but once you've read it, you'll know. This work specifically is a lot more epic in scale from what we've previously got from Tasha Suri. I honestly think that this is a great blend of her two other books, of her duology. It takes the mythical and magical stuff of Empire of Sand and the political nature of Realm of Ash and blends them together to make this really epic story. Obviously, the mythologies and the political stuff are different from what we get in the Jasmine Throne, but like the best parts of those novels are blended in here. We get a great entry into the series. You could definitely tell that this is the first book, though. You can see a lot of the puzzle pieces. God, I think I've compared this to a puzzle 3 times, but you can see a lot of here. The players on a chessboard, you can see how things are just being put into place so that we can have a really good game in the future. And a couple times I could really notice that it was set up. Was I bothered by that? Most of the time, absolutely not, but you could kind of see some wheels turning a little bit. I also was in love with the ending of the story. I think a lot of what happens is really satisfying and earned, and I'm very excited again for the future of the series. I feel like a broken record. I've said the same thing over and over. The writing, I think, is fantastic. I love Tasha Suri's writing, but I do have one issue with how the story itself was constructed or put together. With the additional perspectives in here, I wasn't mad at them at all. I love that this kind of built out our world. We got to experience a lot of different parts of the world than if we were on our own or just with Malini and Priya. That stuff I really liked. However, I do think the perspective changes could be a little awkward at times. I think the perspectives could have been put a little bit more gradually in there. There's a couple times where I noticed it was literally side character, side character, side character, and it felt like the flow of the story was slightly interrupted. I found the pacing to be off occasionally. I think thematically this is absolutely fantastic. I'm loving fantasy recently that has been talking about imperialism and colonialism and exploring those topics through the fantasy lens. I absolutely love it. Check out my review of The Unbroken if you're interested. I really love that Tasha Suri centers women in this story. We do have a couple side perspectives that are men, but who she chooses to focus on in here in a patriarchal society and how each of the separate women choose to navigate their roles in this society, I think is one of, again, the best parts of this story. I love that one of our main or side characters we focus on is a pregnant woman married to like the governor, words are fun, the governor of this state, and she's in an incredibly difficult position, but how she maneuvers politically was such a fantastic thing to watch. I love watching Priya navigate all the things she does, and then Malini, who is essentially meant to be a jewel or an ornamentation in like the empire's crown, and how she chose to navigate her situation and standings, and how she is becoming a more of a political player as the story goes on. I absolutely adored watching, loved watching. Her description, her imagery is so vivid and lush and beautiful, and I just love the way she writes her stories, and I just loved it. Are we shocked? I loved it. The more and more I talk about it, the higher and higher I want my rating to give it. I initially gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars because I did take a bit of issue with the way some of the perspectives were like put in there, but in my heart it's a 5. So I don't know exactly where I'm landing on this, but I loved this book. I can't wait to continue on in the series. I hope you pick this up when it comes out. And I just want more people to be reading Tasha Suri in general because I think she's criminally underrated on BookTube. Let me know down in the comments below if you plan on picking up the Jasmine Throne or if you've already read it, your thoughts on it, because I love it. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.